With increasing inventory and sales down, Ford's looking for new ways and innovative ways to sell their vehicles. But unfortunately, things are changing and they're all about to get a lot more expensive in days coming up. Late last year, the imposition of these tariffs up to 25% against Canada and Mexico meant that prices were naturally going to go up. Months ago, the CEO also announced that these massive changes were going to blow a hole in the industry. In the first quarter, Ford's net income fell by 2/3 to about $473 million. The whole car market is on fire and things are getting serious. We've seen prices rise on almost every vehicle in the Ford lineup. From their vans, their Fords, we see some of these vehicles, the Transits, which are some of their commercial vehicles, up to some of the full-size worker-style trucks. These have gone up in price too. Super Duties, for example, right here, we have these great little Super Duty. I love this Nardo gray look. Absolutely gorgeous unit. This is an F350 XLT. And these are actually going for as much as $96,000. And Ford's share prices fell about 12 cents from $1.33 billion or 33 cents the year before. The revenue for Ford dropped 5% down to about $40.66. Clear indications things have been on the downslide for some time. Year over year, sales have been sliding. But Ford's claiming that this year in 2025, due to some of these changes, they're expecting a $1.5 billion loss in their operating revenue. And this is going to have a major impact. And a lot of these vehicles, even some that they were expecting to fill in the gaps and provide some affordability for some buyers that could no longer get into full-size trucks, the Ford Maverick is one of those vehicles that is likely going to be going grossly up in price. The latest word, certain models are likely going to see a huge impact. Of course, many built in Mexico are going to see as much as $2,000 to $12,000 increase in this year coming up. And that's why even vehicles like the Maverick, which was supposed to be a very affordable price point vehicle like these right here, are going to slowly edge themselves out of the affordability. And if you look along here, we have some beautiful trucks. Here's a nice little XLT, small little unit. Of course, you get the sunroof on top. And this one here is going for a massive $44,000 as it stands right now. But it's going to go up in price here very shortly. Ford's announcing now to get ready for these price hikes, which we've already been seeing year over year, some significant increases by all of the manufacturers. And Ford certainly is no different by creating vehicles now that are very unaffordable for many buyers. The CEO Farley has also said that he wants to get quality control under wraps. Last year, there was a bunch of vehicles held at the port because they maybe weren't quite ready. But there's quite a significant number of recalls, and that's been eating Ford's lunch. So that's a big part of where some of the losses are. Issues, for example, with the Bronco Sports Mavericks with failing batteries, 21, 22 model years. How about the Broncos for rear suspension parts falling off? But the Ford Lincoln recalled for faulty backup cameras as well. And Ford recalls previously recalled Mustang Mach-E's for overheating batteries. But what about the recall for the Mavericks and the loss of drive power? How about the hybrid models for the software errors? And the Maverick, of course, because of the faulty brake lights. But the Maverick hybrids for warning lights malfunctioning, or the F-150 Lightning due to fire risk, or the Ford EcoSport because of possible rollaway risk. And how about the Ford recalls for 10,000 vehicles due to faulted trailer brakes? Oh, there's more. But Lincoln recalls navigators to fix the fire risk side mirrors by disabling the feature. Well, that's bad. You've got the feature and you can't use it. Ford Maverick and the Ford Bronco Sport recalled over possible loss of drive power. That's from the 21 to 24 model years from the Maverick and the Bronco Sport. How about the Ford Edge because of backup camera issues? And the Super Duty trucks because of the windows failing to reverse direction when obstructed, or the F-150 recall due to the powertrain control modules being programmed incorrectly. How about the Ford Transit due to software issues, or the Ford Bronco Sport Escape recall due to possible fire risk? And well, how about more? Ford Explorer because of fix a mounting bolt for the rear axle housing, and recalls vehicles for possible fire risk. A bunch of vehicles from the Expedition, the F-150, the Police Interceptor, and the Lincoln Navigator. The list goes on. How about the seatbelt issues in the Lincolns? How about the trucks in Canada with the brake fluid leaks? How about the Ford recalls, 25,000 vehicles, rear view camera issues? The list goes on, and we won't even talk about those sudden downshifting transmissions. So Ford's dealing with a lot of quality-related issues, and that's really eating their lunch, costing them millions of dollars. And vehicles like the Ford Mustang Mach-E, we already know they haven't been selling all that well, because the F-150 Lightning and the Mustang Mach-E are pure electric vehicles, and the sales have been down dramatically. Unfortunately, they need heavy incentives to get these vehicles sold. And sadly, there's word that you may see as much as $12,000 to $12,500 increase on the new revised price of the Mustang Mach-E, because it's one of those vehicles built in Mexico. And it seems like it's the price point vehicles that are getting hit the hardest. The Bronco Sport, of course, also made in Mexico, is one of those very, very popular subcompact or compact SUVs that they needed an answer for the full-size Bronco that many people couldn't afford because of the price point. These ones are unfortunately likely going to be impacted as well and going up in price in the upcoming year. Clearly, it's going to be a tough year for buyers of the new Ford products. Be looking a little deeper into the pockets to try to buy your next new vehicle. Now, it's quite interesting because Ford's advertising that they're going to have to increase prices on a lot of these Mexican-made manufactured vehicles. But what happens to vehicles like the Ford Explorer, like these, that are made actually in Illinois? Yes, they're actually also about to see an increase of about $2,400. So how is that one explained? Clearly one of the most popular models, and one that's often utilized by police forces, it's fleet use, and as well as just an overall popular vehicle. But prices are going up on the Ford Explorer as well. Now, all these cost increases in the midst of the cost of living crisis, we know prices are going up, and very soon we're about to hear that the parts are going up as well. So to get your older vehicle service, we're about to see that getting a little bit more expensive, as well as your shop visits, because they're using those prices of they're using those parts with the increased prices. But other tragic examples of what's going on is the repossessions. Now, we also know that Ford was chasing down their repossession application, which they were likely going to install, or at least they submitted for this technology, which they were going to start installing in some of their electric vehicles where they could self-repossess. So if you didn't make your payments, the vehicle could potentially drive itself to the local holding yard. Now, that said, they didn't actually install any of that technology yet, but that's yet another thing that they're going to stack on top of the potential risk that they're about to face with these increased prices, people taking out longer loan terms, and the risk that people are just going to default on a lot of their new vehicles. This is all in anticipation of what we might start to see. We're already starting to see 84, 96-month loan terms. You can't go much longer than that. Warranty periods are only 3 to 4 years. People are owning these vehicles outside of warranty and still making these $1,000 or $1,500 a month payments. It puts people in a very vulnerable position. What's Ford got up their sleeve next? I'd like to hear your thoughts down below. And again, as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. See you then, everybody. Bye-bye.